Here comes the sheep. Hi everybody, I'm Tara from Crooked Row, and today we are actually in our chicken coop. We have a rather large chicken coop, and we've actually heard a lot of people talking about the price of eggs, and so we wanted to make a couple videos on keeping chickens. There's actually a lot to know about keeping birds. It's not that it's hard, but it's also not like it's feeding fish. So we kind of wanted to go over some things. If you're thinking about keeping chickens and you've never done this before, there are things that you do need to know, such as how big is the place that you're going to use to house chickens. And so chickens should have between, a full-size chicken, should have between 2 to 5 square feet in the coop. Now, hopefully that's more on the 5 feet than it is the 2, but if they're mostly going to be outside, 2 to 5 feet is okay. And so I think that everybody can kind of keep chickens. They're not a tough animal. You really end up loving them. They're kind of like little baby dinosaurs. And so but there are things that you want to know within your coop. And so the first one is size. So that's going to be dependent on how many chickens you're going to keep. So you have to figure that math out right away. Another thing is where you build your coop. If you're not already dealing with a permanent structure, then you're going to want to try to build in the shade if you can. If not, plant a tree. In the summertime, chickens really have a hard time cooling themselves down. So you're definitely going to want to make sure that you have some sort of shade source for them to be able to get into. And it's going to be vitally important if you don't have a lot of outdoor space for them to keep them cool in the summer. In the wintertime, chickens should be able to take care of themselves. Some people heat their coops. We don't. We do. You'll see as we go through our coop, you'll see that we do have heating lamps in here. That's for when we're having like -40 temperatures that night. So I'm just going to kind of show you around our coop, and then we'll go over some things that you should probably be thinking about as you're wanting to keep chickens. So first things first, as I already mentioned, you're talking about size. Now, our coop is about 20 by 20. We decided, so you'll see that we have the galvanized metal set up in between. There's another coop on the other side, and we use that for our mamas and their babies because some of ours actually lay. And so what you want to do, or what we had to do, actually I'll get to that when we talk about predators. But so here, the outside walls are cinder block. The inside walls are either galvanized steel or wood. And we have chicken wire on our doors. You see that back behind there is the center of our barn. So these chickens are housed in our barn, which may change very, very soon. You need to utilize perches. Now, these perches that we have put up, we had like beautiful dowel rod perches that actually broke. And so we had, we got from a factory that it would carry big steel coils, and so we knew that it was like super heavy. Make sure that at night they have access to water. Now, this is sitting on the ground, so that means that my kids are in trouble. And it's very, very dirty. They kick stuff into their water and their food. So as you can see, you can get, if you keep your waterers and your feeders on the floor, it's not going to work out good, because chickens love to scratch around in their bedding, and they're going to kick, just like they did in this, they're going to kick all that into their water. And remember, bedding has poop in it. So that's not good eats. So here is our very first hack that we're going to give for that. And that is, you can use chain, you can use paracord, you can use whatever you have on hand that's safe for a chicken. And I say safe because you don't want anything to come crashing down on them. We use paracord. I don't know if you can see that orange cord, and let me show you how this works. So you have the orange paracord, and the orange paracord, we have a hook and eye up there, and then we have a carabiner, and the paracord is tied to the carabiner, and then you go down to another tied carabiner, and then you just slip your waterer onto the carabiner. Let me do that. Sorry, it's not in shot. Just like that. And then it hangs. And so the chickens will come up and they can still get a drink, or if it's your feeder, they can still eat it. But they can't flick anything in it. And so your waterer stays clean and the food or water stays clean. So that is a great little hack that no one told us, but we did figure that one out and maybe other people do this, I don't know, but it definitely keeps it a whole lot cleaner. So another thing that you want to keep in mind is the actual coop needs to be dry. You don't want, while you want ventilation in your coop, you don't want water to be able to come in. So chickens are really susceptible to like respiratory disorders. And if you get mold in your coop, that's a very bad thing. It can kill your chickens. So, can you hear my girls in back? They're squawking at us. But you want to make sure and keep the building itself dry, but you also, this brings us to another topic of bedding. So bedding can be hemp. You can now buy hemp, and it kind of looks like straw, but straw is not a good idea because it can hold mold. But you can use hemp. You can use, like we use wood shavings. Let me show you. We use, come in focus. We use a very, very deep litter. And so the chickens love it. They love to scratch around in it, but it's also a double fold issue for us. One of the reasons why we do it is because I love everything to kind of like recycle itself. And so one of the reasons why we use this, but you can do this with hemp too, is we scrape all of this out in the spring and we compost it and use it in our garden. So it makes fantastic compost. So if you have a small place or you don't garden, save that and sell it on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or something, because people would die to get their hands on chicken manure, the people who garden. So if you can't get anybody to do it, just pile it and turn it every so often, and it'll turn into beautiful compost that somebody will pay a good penny for. I mean, I just purchased, because our garden is so large, I also purchased compost or chicken manure. I just got a Spoma chicken manure, and it's like $15 a bag, and that's cheap. So the real stuff is really good. I wanted to show you this container right here, but we actually have a hen. She's laying her eggs in it. We utilize this container. It's stainless steel. I don't even remember what it's from. Do you, Christopher? That stainless steel container? No. We put our wood ash in there. Now, if you're going to use wood ash, guys, please make sure there's no hot embers in it. The reason why we put wood ash in there is so that they can take dust baths. And so chickens utilize dust baths to keep themselves clean. It's not just clean. They won't get lice or mites or different things that can get into their feathers, and they essentially throw the dust up on their backs, and they kind of, you know, shimmy down into it and it smothers whatever's living in their feathers. So clearly you don't give chickens a bath. And I'm sure that would be a great way to spread disease too, if you did, or if they had access to a lot of, like a, you know, like a little pond or something. I bet that would spread disease, because chickens can be nasty, guys. But so that's, you definitely want to give them a place to have a dust bath. You don't have to use wood ash. I've heard of other people using other things, but that's what we use. We use our wood ash, and it's, you know, they like it, and it's light, so they can kind of flip it up on themselves. You just have to be sure that it's something that they can actually flip up with their feathers. It can't be anything heavy. So you will also need nesting boxes. Now this is what everybody tells you. You have to have nesting boxes, and I have seen people spend a lot of money on nesting boxes, and it's really not necessary. I mean, we've used, Christopher, we've used milk, you know, the big things that milk, like those big milk crates. Yeah, we've used milk crates. We've actually built nesting boxes. We've bought nesting boxes. Our chickens, I'm going to show you, either go into that little box that I just showed you where she's laying on her eggs, or look at this. I don't know if you can see that chicken. I don't want to get too close to her, but she just chose a corner, and she's been laying there for the past few weeks. So, you know, it's what works for you. Just make sure your chickens have somewhere safe, usually dark. They like to pick a dark corner. That's why it's kind of weird that this chicken is laying in the open. But they like dark, they like safe, they like quiet, because think about it, they're kind of giving birth. So, so nesting boxes is an important one too. So another thing that you want to think about is chickens have to have grit. They don't digest their food normally, and they need grit to break that down. And so instead, we don't provide grit. You can buy grit. You can go to Tractor Supply, Rural King, wherever it is you shop, and you can buy grit. When you raise animals, you start, at first you buy everything, and then you go, how can I save some money? Oh yeah. And so then we started learning that even tiny little pebbles will do the job. And so let me show you this. We have this all over our farm. So I don't know if you can see that, but it is tiny little pebbles all over. And some of our farm has slag on it. That's a byproduct that we get from one of the steel companies, and it's completely okay for chickens. But this right here is what everybody has. It's just like a sandy material. It's little tiny rocks, and as long as your chickens have access to that, they're fine. And our chickens, I mean, and how you tell is you look at their poop. Yes. And so if they are pooping just fine, your chickens are fine. So I mean, we'll go over that on a feeding video. There's just lots of things to go over, like
so one thing you need to definitely be thinking about with your chickens is getting a secure door on your coop. So here we really badly struggle with raccoons. And raccoons, they say they're about as intelligent as a toddler, and they have opposable thumbs like we do. Yeah. So that means they figure out latches pretty quickly, and you definitely have to have a very secure latch. Like if it's just like a little click latch that is easy, he'll figure that out so fast. So you definitely need to get like a secure bolt that is relatively difficult to open, because you kind of have to outstrength the raccoon. Well,
and raccoons are so intelligent that they even understand they don't even have to get in your coop. So yeah. We used to have something we called a baby coop, and it had a wood floor, and the entire thing, because it was in like the center of the barn, we felt it didn't have any rain, it didn't have, you know, there was a roof and walls and all of that. So we just did the whole thing in chicken wire until my husband came in one morning and found a raccoon had stuck its hand through the chicken wire and was eating a baby chick through the wire. So after that, we realized, like, you really have to predator-proof your coop. No matter where you have it. Again, that was in the center of a barn. It shouldn't have happened, but it does, because predators are very smart. And so another thing that we realized through trial and error, and we are sharing with you, is we had a mink. And minks are little wily characters. A mink came in and cleared out 200 chickens. So, and that was in a period of what, 3 days?
Yep.
3 days, it ate 200 chickens.
It only took the heads. That's one sign to tell us that it's mink, is that they love the heads of the chicken and they won't eat the rest of the bird.
Yeah. So this is our side wall this is in our barn, but this is the outer edge of the coop. And as you can see, we've put up galvanized steel. Well, that galvanized steel also goes 12 inches into the ground. So the reason why we put the galvanized steel, we dug a 12-inch trench all along the outside of the coop. On the very outside, we didn't need to do that because we have a cinder block barn and the cinder blocks go down underneath the ground. So the mink was not getting in there. But what was happening was there was a tiny, like 2-inch space of dirt, and it would dig right there and then burrow under and just clean house.
Yeah.
I mean, they are very destructive. And they're so tiny. Remember, a rat or a ferret or a mink or a weasel or anything like that, it only needs 1 inch. So don't trust that something's not gonna happen. Prepare for what is gonna happen. Sorry we had to move because the wind was getting too bad, so now we're in the barn. But if you prepare for your predators, I mean, you might have to tweak some things, especially if you go around your coop and you see, you know, that things are happening. I've seen many different ways that people protect their coop though. Some people will dig a trench and put large rocks in that trench. I mean, an animal can't get through those big rocks. I've seen people who do rocks and then put a sheet metal over top of the rocks. Now they really can't get in.
Yeah.
Some people do cement. Some people do, or quickcrete, whatever it is. Some people, whatever barrier you come up with, make sure it's solid. Make sure that there's not holes in it. If we were gonna redo our chicken, our chicken coop today, do you hear her squawking at us? She's like, get out. If we were gonna redo our chicken coop today, I would not use chicken wire. I know, that sounds weird. But too many animals can get through that chicken wire, and in your area, everything's gonna be dependent on what your predator is. So if you're in a place, a lot of people think, oh, I don't have rats. Well, we don't have rats, but guess what? Rats will find chickens.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they love them, and they love their eggs. They'll destroy your eggs. So I would use hardwire cloth, and I hope Elijah puts a picture of hardware cloth up, because a lot of people don't know what hardware cloth is. And that sounds weird. It sounds like cloth, so it's not. It's what they put at the bottom of rabbit cages. Nothing is getting the sheep just came in. Nothing is getting through hardware cloth.
Yeah.
I mean, unless there's an actual big break or something. But a predator, they're gonna try, and typically a predator won't dig more than 6 inches down. So that's why we did 12. So we safeguarded ourselves. We did not want to have to dig all that up again, did we?
No, not at all.
So we dug the trench. We put in the galvanized steel, and the mink was like, it still would come in our barn, but it was not getting into the chicken coop, and it tried for like a month.
Yeah.
How we got rid of the mink totally was we put Maggie the dog in at night.
Maggie the dog and Tom the cat kicked that mink's butt over and over again.
Yes, and poor Tom the cat, he had like a big gaping wound from minks, muskrat, all those animals. Guys, be careful. They're terrors. Maggie is such a large dog though. I mean, they're afraid of her.
Yeah, she would just eat it. It's like fighting a dinosaur.
Yeah, she thinks it's funny. So that's on your chicken coop. I hope that you join us for the next few videos. If you're thinking about raising chickens because of those extremely high egg prices, please watch the succession of videos because there are things that you do need to know before you raise chickens. Do you think they need to know anything? Is there anything you can think of?
Not really.
Okay. I think I covered it all. So remember, if we can build a coop for our chickens,
Anybody can. Bye.
Bye.